Hey everybody, going to try to talk you guys through introductions as a general concept, and also I'll provide some specific feedback or specific advice on our assignment, the one that we are working on with immigrant and citizen obligations. But a lot of what we talk about here and a lot of what I posted about obviously on the website classroom thing, these are going to be connected to introductions as a general concept. So I know it might be hard to motivate yourself to work on this specific assignment or this specific school year. There might be a temptation to check out. There might be a temptation to not really participate in some of these kind of school videos stuff because it's hard to see the relevance. But I absolutely guarantee you that introductions and writing of introductions are going to be with you next year as a senior, and then the following years should you decide to go into college. So no matter if you go to a community college or to a four-year college, introductions are going to be a part of writing, and writing is going to be a part of almost every class. So a lot of times students can find introductions to be the most challenging because of the blank page. So I'll talk just very briefly about this idea of the blank page, but first I want to pause and kind of make sure that my video is working and such. So, all right, so the blank page. A lot of times what students will do is they'll either on a piece of paper or on a word processor, on a Google Doc or something, they'll have this Google Doc created, and then they'll start doing things like name up here, and then they'll try to do MLA, and then they'll say, what do I need to title it? And then they'll say, where do I put a page number? How do you do that? And then how big do my margins be? And do my margins be? That doesn't make sense. And in fact, no student said that. But how big should my margins be? There you go. So they'll take care of all of this stuff. And a lot of times they'll fixate on this stuff. But in reality, I think what is happening here is not so much how do I format this, but how do I postpone actually writing of the essay, because the whole blank cursor thing, that blinking little line, can be very intimidating, and as a result, we can just decide to procrastinate. And one of the ways to procrastinate, as we all know, is you procrastinate by doing something else productive. I do this all the time. So I may know in the back of my mind that, oh my gosh, I really need to do some laundry, but I don't want to do laundry because it's a pain. So instead, what I'll do is I'll go clean my bathroom. Well, cool, I have a clean bathroom, but my laundry's still not done. So all those procrastinating things, the MLA format, the title, the page numbers, there's nothing wrong with those, but ultimately what that is it's us just saying, I don't really want to start writing because it freaks me the heck out. So that is one thing to just recognize, is that there is going to be an element of anxiety to getting started because we want to get started right. We want to do it well, and perhaps even for some of us, writing tends to be something that we find to be particularly difficult. So we want to do it well, but we don't really want to start because that means we have to address this anxiety and stuff. So I just want to name that. That is something that does exist. But I think one of the ways around this kind of fear or just like downright hatred of the blank page is the idea of rough drafts. I'm not sure when this idea left. I don't know if it did leave, but it seems like a lot of times students tend to view what they are writing as the final. So it's understandable then that starting out is going to be anxiety-inducing or even angering, because we think we have this idea that whatever we start typing is going to be there as the end product, right? It's the idea of, I don't want to start painting this room because once I paint it, I can't repaint it, right? That would be so terrifying, is the whole decision-making process of what color do I want to use, where do I want to start painting, do I want to lay something down on the floor? If we had the idea that whatever paint we put on our walls was permanent, that would be super freaky, right? It would make it a lot harder for us to start because we had this idea that we couldn't change it. So the same thing is true for writing. If we have the idea that we cannot change, or we aren't going to change what we are going to write, then it makes sense that we would be freaked out and a little bit stressed with starting it. So I think it's really important, and hopefully feedback that I've been giving you guys is going to allow for this idea of viewing these things as drafts. Yes, you're turning them in, so they may not be as rough as they were at the beginning. Hopefully you've gone back and done some proofreading and done some moving around. But these are still going to be drafts. Even the final things that you turn in are going to be drafts. There's an anecdote of a really, really famous author who does not read his own books after they are published because he sees mistakes and he wants to edit them. So the idea of writing as constantly evolving can be really helpful when it comes to tackling this blank page. So one of the biggest challenges, the reason I spend so much time talking about that is because one of the biggest challenges with introductions is that it is the first thing usually that people try to write, and so therefore it tends to have the most stress associated with it. So another benefit of our process, so starting out as writing paragraphs and now moving into the idea of an essay, one of the benefits of that is it might take off a little bit of the pressure from a introduction, because we've already been deeply involved in this essay. Obviously, we've been involved in it for a lot longer than we intended, but we've already been deeply involved in this essay, so the introduction we might find is a little bit easier this go around. And if that's the case, that might be a suggestion for us later for future writing assignments to, hey, work on body paragraphs first, then go back and write the introduction. I actually, when I taught college composition, I ask students to do that all the time, and that's the way I taught essay writing, was to write body paragraphs as separate paragraphs, and then let's go back and write an introduction. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, the first big challenge is that it's the blank page. Let's talk more about introductions.